The Stranger. Jason waited at the airport with his parents and brothers to receive his grandfather. Dressed in a traditional blue jacket, grandfather's Chinese background made him impossible to miss. His penetrating black eyes scanned the hall in search of Jason and his family. Their parents rushed to greet their grandfather, but Jason and his brothers stood apart. Jason and his brothers had realized that their grandfather spoke only in Chinese. A month had passed since grandfather's arrival. One Friday afternoon, Jason stole a glance at his grandfather as he stood rigidly staring out of a window, his eyes filled with loneliness and frustration. The games he had brought for them, Chinese chess and a sort of beanbag, lay untouched on the table. Later that day, Jason sneaked into his grandfather's room. Grandfather was dressed in a silk shirt with patterns of colorful Chinese words. He had a serious expression on his face, and at one point, tears found their way down his weathered cheeks. Jason's father told him about his grandfather so that Jason would be able to understand him and his culture better. His grandfather had served as a general in the Chinese army during World War II. Right after the war, when Jason's father and uncle were babies, his grandparents had hidden all their valuables and money in their diapers. Soldiers patrolled everywhere, but they had managed to board one of the last ships to Taiwan. That night, as he lay in bed, Jason wondered how his parents had been able to adapt to two different cultures. Jason decided to give his grandfather a headset for Christmas. On Christmas Eve, they gathered around a fire next to their Christmas tree and sang Silent Night. Although grandfather had not understood completely the holiday of Christmas, he did his best to sing along. The next morning, grandfather's face was blank when he opened his gift. Then, Jason's mother put in a Chinese tape and showed him how to use the headset. A wide grin appeared as he listened to his new headset. His eyes glowed bright as he gave Jason a big hug. Jason hugged him back. On Chinese New Year, Jason and his family drove down to Chinatown in Chicago. The streets were crowded and there were neon lights flashing Chinese characters. Grandfather seemed much at home, pointing here and there and explaining what was going on in the street. A brilliant full moon, symbolizing the new year, showed off its full splendor. Grandfather was enjoying himself to the fullest. He turned his head towards Jason. Their eyes locked and they smiled at each other.